Welcome to the Nuclear Power Institute's The Path of Most Persistent podcast. The podcast highlighting individual stories of persistence, community outreach, and inspiration to support the continuing and emerging nuclear science and technology needs across the state of Texas. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy today's podcast.
All right, so Shayden, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So this is our podcast, the NPI's podcast. It's called The Path of Most Persistence. And we've become aware of you because of your good work on your campus and of course, through Ms. Huber, your high school counselor and our NPI regional coordinator. So today, before we get started in all of our questions, can you just give us your full name, what you do on your campus, maybe perhaps what grade you're in and what your plans are for the future?
Sure. My full name is Shayden Spradley. I'm a senior at Troy High School. I was the varsity cheer captain. I have since been retired. And I was the president of student council and of the senior class. And I just enjoy school spirit. But yeah, I just try to be involved in as many things as possible. So.
Where are you going next, Shayden?
Oh yeah, forgot that part. Okay, I'm going to UMHB. I'm planning on majoring in finance, possibly a minor in marketing. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. But I'm also planning on cheering. That's in the works as well. But that's my next stop is University of Mary Hardin Baylor.
So the other day, we were having a meeting with Ms. Huber, our regional coordinators that work for NPI, and we were talking about our podcast. And as I mentioned, the name is The Path of Most Persistence. And we were talking about the whole notion, the whole idea of persistence, overcoming obstacles and really working through barriers that we as professionals and even our students may have. And your name came up. Ms. Huber mentioned some of the outstanding projects you have, and she talked about your YouTube channel. You have a blog as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about those different items, but also why it is you even have them?
So I was not always a cheerleader. I'm just going to start there. Growing up, I was very anti all things girly. And when I got to high school, one of the first people I met when I moved schools was a cheerleader, and she became one of my best friends, and she convinced me to try out. So fast forward down the line, I've only been cheering for so many years, and I've had all of these wonderful people in my life to give me advice and teach me all of these skills that I've acquired. And I just felt like there was a lack of teaching on leadership, because when you're around cheerleaders, you see all these amazing skills and all these amazing people, but then you go and talk to them or you want to see them lead, and I don't know, I just felt like I had a lot more skills just naturally that needed to be shared. And I also just love making websites. So while being bored in quarantine, I started just putting all my knowledge out. It also kind of started as a project to help just one of my friends who's the canoe captain now, and I just was wanting to get her all the advice I could, and it turned into much larger of a thing, obviously. And I started I call it Cheer Reader program, because of all my little cheerleaders that I love and miss so much. And I've been getting texts and videos from my PALS class of them missing me and just wanting to be at school and missing their routine. And one thing I used to do as a PAL was read them stories. And so I just started making some videos of me reading them books and just sending it to them, and they loved it and they shared them, and here I am. It's gotten bigger.
I'm just giving anyone else an opportunity to ask a question before I go in. Okay. Well, so as I hear you, this is just excellent. It's always very encouraging, inspiring for educators and those of us that work with young people to hear young people that take the initiative to do things like this. But I'm wondering, why reading books? What is it about books or reading to younger people? I mean, I know you have a following of younger fans, but why read books to them?
Well, I love learning, and I also love acting and just having fun. And one way that I interacted with the kids was acting out the stories and just being fun and trying to engage them as much as possible. But I also didn't know what else I could do from my house that would be helpful and also just fun. And my younger brother has a lots of fun books, and I always read to him too. So I just figured maybe read a book. I didn't really know what else to start with, so that's where I started, is just reading a book and making it fun.
Well, I think that's so impressive because, first of all, you realize you have a skill set that you wanted to share. And thank you for that, because I think there's so many of us that know that we have skills, but we are maybe a little insecure in sharing them because sometimes we think others won't appreciate it. So I'm so glad that you have the confidence or the willingness to push through and to open yourself up to that, to share your skill set. And I think, too, the power of reading is, power of words and language is so important. And I think your young audience really appreciates hearing you and you spending your time with them. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm not sure what you said at the end. My internet connection cut out, but I will just assume that it was praise and thank you.
Yes, you assume correctly.
Okay.
I noticed on your blog too, you have a couple of quotes that you've highlighted. Cheerleading, everyday cheerleading, leading every day. What's that about? Can you talk more about that quote?
Yes, so that's something that I came up with. I just felt like that branded myself and what I was trying to do, just in a short little phrase. As I said before, I just really wanted to focus on the leadership aspect of the cheerleading world and just all around everyday people, because like my mom, she's not a cheerleader, but she cheers me on every day. And so she's a big inspiration on being a leader and being a cheerful leader at that. And I just wanted to highlight that even though that you may be an accountant or whatever you are, you're still an influence to all kinds of people around you. And so you should have the mindset that you are leading someone every day. And it just kind of helps remind me, and hopefully everyone that reads it, to be that leader that you are and think of yourself in that way.
That speaks to everything I think we try to do at NPI with our outreach programs, is to inspire. And it sounds like you already know that innately. So that's huge. I see in on your site, you also mention your friend that encouraged you to be a cheerleader when you made your move. What was it, your freshman year?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said she was awesome. What is it about her that is awesome? What do you appreciate about her friendship, or any friendship that you truly value?
So coming in, this was before school had even started. It was at volleyball camp, and she was a junior as I was a freshman. And so I was really shocked for her to have even talked to me, and then to realize that she was a cheerleader, because I had not had good past relationships with girls who called themselves cheerleaders. And so that kind of took me aback, and I don't know, we just kind of latched on to each other, and she was just who I try to be now. I just took her as a very big role model and example. She was just nice. She always chose to be kind first, and that was not something that I had.
Oh no, you might be frozen.
Anything that I like. Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I just said, I don't know where I left off, but I just said that she was nice. She chose to be kind before anything else. And that's what really drew me to her.
That's really lovely. There's a saying that it's better to be kind than clever. And everything you're saying, I think, not only speaks to me, I think to many of our folks that are in this Zoom meeting with you, but I so relate to you talking about not being girly. When I was younger, I was the same, such a tomboy. And so it's really nice when you're able to make a friend with someone you never even thought you would. You thought you had nothing in common. And I think about that a lot as I've gotten older and through the years, that I find that some of my best friends are very different from me.
Yes.
But I think that's what I look for, is someone that I can learn from, a friend maybe that isn't just like me, but someone that can teach me something, not only about something in the world, but about me myself. So I'm wondering what maybe that friend, or even your mom, or even the experience of cheerleading, what have you learned about yourself through those relationships?
That I have found so much of myself through, and I know it sounds really silly saying that I found myself through cheerleading, but I did. I played every sport imaginable growing up, and I'm athletic, but I was never very good at it. And so when I found cheerleading, and my mom had been telling me since I was like born, she's like, you just have to be my cheerleader, but I was like, no, I'll go play in the mud, it's okay. And so when I finally did take that step and get on that squad, it was like, I don't know, I was really good at it, and people were looking at me and impressed by me, and it just felt good to have something that I could show out in and have a platform in, and just, I just really found myself, and I found a lot of good people through it too. My coaches in particular have just helped me, like, so much more than just cheerleading advice. It's like how to be an adult, because I just recently turned 18, and so that was a big conversation, and just little things and big things, and just the people I've met and the opportunities, like this door that's been opened right now. It didn't start happening until I became a cheerleader. So
That's good. That's really excellent. And through all of that, I think you probably have learned the power of saying yes to opportunities, right? Because each opportunity may bring another opportunity. Have you ever had an experience or an opportunity that you were really excited about, or really wanted to do, but you were just too afraid to do? Or maybe you ended up doing it, but it just really scared you?
absolutely. So, and I've also had, opportunities that I had the chance to go do and they didn't work out. And that's something you have to work through as well. I tried out for NCAA cheerleader a couple months ago, just as an example, and it was the most terrifying thing I've ever done. And of course, my small town cheer experience wasn't quite on the level that it needed to be, so I didn't make it, but that doesn't mean I won't go back. But I say this because, one, it took a lot in me to say, okay, this is my next step. Like, I'm officially going to identify myself as this and go after this and try and go for this path. Then it didn't work out. But thankfully, it shouldn't have worked out, because now it's put me here and it's opened different doors. And so that opportunity wouldn't have worked out the way that it needed to be. I needed to just wait, and I was trying to rush things and be someone that I thought I needed to be and take that step, but I should have just waited and figured things out in God's time and not on my schedule, which I tend to do a lot. But so that's been a good thing as well. But opportunities like going to Troy was a big opportunity and a big decision I had to make. And I was in middle school when I had to make this decision. And to a middle schooler, deciding to go to a completely different school district that absolutely no one is terrifying.
Courage.
But it was the best decision. It was the best decision that I could have made. It was just the best. Troy's like my little slice of heaven, and I was just blessed to get to be there and have a wonderful 4 years, or 3 3/4 of my high school years. But so yes, decisions are hard, and I tend to overthink them. But now that I'm here, I just try to be what you said, just be more of a yes man and just try it and see what happens.
A yes woman in the most possible meaning, right?
Yeah.
But, and I'll tell you, and I think you're finding this out too. I think so many of us, and you at your young age, you've discovered this, and it leans to your maturity and your intellect. But I think it's really important for people such as yourselves that are clearly an outstanding role model. But that's something that people will observe in you, is that it seems as though when you have an obstacle or a challenge, you take it head on, right? And there seems to be, I know for me, I like to always tell students, that's the true way of gaining a superpower, is when you see something scary or intimidating, but you just go ahead and charge it. And there's something about charging it, going forward, pushing through the fear. And it's almost as though you gain the strength of that scary thing, that obstacle, and you absorb it yourself, right? Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. I feel that way every time I give a speech or anything of that kind, because it's like a rush. And so, because it is scary, but once you get up there and you do it and you come back, you may not remember a word of what you said or what happened, but you get that feeling of, I did it, that was me, and I can go do it. And yeah, I mean, why would you not want to do it? If you don't ever do it, then you're just going to regret it. And you're going to wonder if you could have done it, and then one day it won't be an option anymore. So.
Wise beyond your years, young lady.
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever gotten there.
That raises a question for me, Shayden. You're so confident in everything you do, and for, a lot of us, we struggle with confidence in different areas, probably all through our life. But I'd be interested to know, what is the source of your confidence? Where do you feel like that comes from in you?
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. Most of my confidence is fake.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. But you have to, I struggled in middle school with not necessarily making friends, but knowing who my real friends were. And there's just been a lot of people in my life that have been people that I couldn't really figure out, that I let in a little too close. And I had to learn to just not care anymore about what people say of me or what people think of me, how I'm supposed to act or who I'm supposed to be, because there's only one person that gets to say that, and he's up there. So I don't have a say either. I just take opportunities, and I get up there and I pretend like this is what I'm supposed to do and I'm going to do it. And then I do it. And then I might go home and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I signed up for this. Oh my gosh. But you have to do it. And I feel like the more that I do those things, the more resilient I get to doing it. And it just becomes easier every time. Not necessarily with everything, but like speeches, for example. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I started getting good at it, other than the fact of I just kept doing it and people kept asking me to do it. So I just try and fake it till I make it, like you said.
And those fears are just becoming your superpowers. So it sounds as though you are a super wit student for sure.
Thank you.
And now that, unfortunately, because of the crisis situation, you won't be going back to campus this school year. But as you reflect back on your senior year, and you hope with the new year starting and things going back to normal, how do you want your fellow students that remain on campus and your teachers and all those that will come after you, how do you want them to think of you or remember you on campus?
How to remember me? Oh, this is a good question. I would just like to be remembered as the girl that was always kind and loving, because that was what started my high school journey, was meeting that girl. And I always wanted to be that. Anytime I saw anybody or talked to anyone, I just tried to be nice. My brother's home, so I may have to move spots, but
that's okay.
I want to be remembered as someone who just tried her best and was always kind and had the most school spirit. That's my goal.
And as far as all the educators that will be listening, all those that are in different audiences that may be listening to this interview, this discussion, what's the best advice that you can give them to assist young people? If it's an educator or an adult that's listening to you, and they're going to be so impressed with you, Shayden, they really are. But when you think back of all the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, of how adults could have assisted you, or maybe even how they did assist you that was so helpful, what's a bit of advice you can give to adults listening to you now? In working with young people, that is.
And giving advice. Well, growing up, my parents our household is very different, but one thing my parents always did in regards to me was talking to me as if I understood everything they were saying. They never treated me as if I was 5 years old, or, you know, even at 18, they treat me as if I'm wise beyond my years, as Ms. Wall said. But, and so that has always been something that I valued so much, because if I felt respected, so therefore I respected them much more. And I would think that would be a good piece of advice for all adults working with younger people, not just children, but anyone younger than them, is just to give them the same respect that you would want in return, and just understanding. Sometimes kids talk out and be rude or cry out because they just really want you to give them a hug or to just sit there and listen. And so that's what I would say. Just try and give what you expect to receive. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And can you just tell us one other thing? What does the future hold for you?
I don't know.
Come on, tell us something. What are your plans? What can we expect to hear?
I would really enjoy to own something that is my own company or my own making, or something that's made by me. My dad has his own business, and there's been lots of pressure to take that over, but I don't feel like I have a right to do it because it's not mine. I didn't work for it or make it. And so I don't know what I will be doing, but I will be doing something, travel around and be a speaker about whatever I'm working on. So I also like to write, so maybe you'll see a book from me in the future.
Well, no doubt, whatever it is, it will be wonderful, and you'll be making a positive impact in whatever you're doing. But before we wrap things up, does anyone else around the screen have anything to add or to ask?
For me, it just, Shayden, you're very impressive. You know, someone that's not so much older than you, I'm very impressed, and see you are definitely wiser beyond your years, including people that are around my age still. So props to you on that. On the flip side of how teachers and educators interact with students or young adults, is there any advice that you would give to your peers or students just joining the WIT program or going through high school that that you think might be beneficial for them going forward?
I would say for those that are just going through high school is to just remember that this isn't everything, and to treat people as if you'll see them again in 10 years. And in regards to WIT, I would say just be open-minded, because it's going to bring you to a lot of places, like the AT&T Stadium. I didn't know that it was held up by just the two little arches. It's like, that was really cool. So just be open-minded in what could be in your future, and take it not as a field trip, but as opportunities to see where you want to end up in life. So just remain open-minded and kind.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Young lady, you're a rock star in my book.
Thank you. Means a lot to me.
I do want to say, as we wrap things up, Shayden, thank you so much for spending time with us today. A few things. We respect you so very much. I know respect is very important to you. We respect all that you do, the initiative that you clearly make, and all your efforts of doing more. It sounds as though you're a wonderful daughter and sister, so thank you for that too. And we appreciate you, because we don't take students like you for granted. We know that we're so very fortunate to have relationships with you all, and that you're sharing your talents. And most positively, we need you too. We need you and your skill set for not only your impact and those that are around you in your community, but we need you for the future of our great state of Texas and the workforce development that we all have the mission to carry out. But because you are an amazing young person, with a tremendous amount of talent. So we need you to share. We need you to continue to share your talent and your abilities and your leadership skill and all the kindness that you have, because the world needs more of that. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you got more people that you can fall back on right here in this group.
Well, thank you.
It'll be of help to you.
Thank you, guys. Can I ask you a question before we go?
Go for it.
Of course.
What would you have, or what advice for me would you have, or what would you say for me to do as my next step in life or in any other aspect?
Around the screen?
Yes, please.
You hear from me all the time, so
Yeah, but this is different, Miss Hubert.
Oh.
That's right, Ms. Hubers. Give us one for the recording, please.
Well, I mean, first of all, nobody can tell you your next step. You're listen to your own voice on that, and I think I've told you this before, Shayden. Stay true to your voice and what you want to put out there, and don't be swayed by. I've told you don't be swayed by me and what I'm excited about. Make sure you're true to your vision, because that's the most important thing. So, no matter who you look up to or who the boss is or whatever, make sure you're staying true to yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't be afraid of change. Like you said, you got to be open to opportunities. And in college, you're going to have a lot of different opportunities. And so I know when I first started college, I think I changed my major 3 times. And that's normal. So don't feel that, once you're on one path that you have to stay there. If you find something else that excites you, you want to be happy. So do what you're passionate about. And don't be afraid of changing it halfway through.
Thank you.
I'll give you a little advice from an old person. Been 40 years or more in my career. So my advice to you is, at some point in time, you may think that you have reached the ultimate that you were hoping for, and you may get a curveball thrown at you. But know that it happened to me, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. So continue doing what you're doing, but know that when it seems like something has devastated your hopes and dreams, that it's all to help you turn the direction you need to be turning next.
Thank you. I will remember that.
My advice is not so in depth as everybody else's. I don't have a whole lot of experience yet in the real world, but so most of mine is from college experience. It's of course, be open-minded about new experiences and new opportunities, but also being adaptable to changes. This COVID crisis is a prime example of having to adapt and change, maybe how you work or how you school and everything like that. So you're already experiencing a little bit of adaptive changes, but try to be as adaptable as you can. That's a skill set that not a lot of people take and run with often. So in my experience, being adaptable and overcoming is an extremely good thing for whenever you're looking at organizations and looking to get involved on campus at Mary Hardin Baylor, and going into the workforce afterwards, is just being adaptable.
Thank you.
And I think everybody's touched on every bit of outstanding advice there is out there in the world. But just touching back on what I mentioned earlier about absorbing those fears and those obstacles to make them your superpowers. Regardless of how wonderful you are, how great your situation may be, the world is tough, the world is hard, and it's not always fair. But I encourage you, and I even challenge you too, Shayden, to take every disappointment, every obstacle, every opportunity when your feelings are hurt or you were let down, take it as a time to really evaluate your situation, to evaluate your mind, heart, and soul, and choose to make it an opportunity to grow. Absorb those fears, absorb all those things, and take it and make them your superpowers. And as you go through life and you see wonderful examples of what you want to be in life, take those examples and use them as seeds into your mind and your soul of how it is that you'd like to grow yourself. And those bad examples or those bad experiences you've had in life, throw them out. Throw them out. We none of us can escape those, but do not ever let a negative word, action, or deed against you ever take root in you, because you're too good for that. And as I mentioned earlier, we need you too much to share your skill set. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. So.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. The Nuclear Power Institute is a joint center with Texas A&M University and the Texas A&M Engineering Experiment Station, and is a component of the Nuclear Engineering and Science Center. For more information about our center or about our guest speaker today, please visit our website at npi.tamu.edu and look for us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you.